And we are ready. Sunday Night Football, Week 15, and the kick, the wind helping it sail to the back of the end zone for a touchback. And let's take a look at the Steelers starters.
Ben Roethlisberger, Miami Redhawks.
Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State.
Antonio Brown, Central Michigan.
Emmanuel Sanders, SMU.
Jericho Cotchery, NC State.
Heath Miller, Virginia.
Kelvin Beachum, Southern Methodist University.
Ramon Foster, Tennessee.
Cody Wallace, Texas A&M.
David DeCastro, Stanford.
Marcus Gilbert, University of Florida.
Steelers have had some problems up front, but overall, Chris talking about it at the top, the offense has not been the issue this year. Ed Hockley is the referee. Gets a last word in with Roethlisberger, and here's the first play from scrimmage from the 20-yard line. Wants three receivers to the right and then send Bell in that direction. So four guys on the right side, and it's a screen to Bell, and Bell is able to pick up 4 yards to the 24-yard line. Drake Kirkpatrick making the tackle. So for Ben Roethlisberger, you talk to some of the people who are around the Steelers, have followed them. There are some who say this is his best season. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but it's certainly in the conversation.
Well,
personal foul, face mask, defense, number 27. 15 yards from the end of the run. First down.
And that's Drake Kirkpatrick. Michelle talking about the fact he's taking the spot occupied normally by Terrence Newman, and a very inglorious beginning for him.
Well, he made his presence felt right away, didn't he?
He did. The ball at the 40-yard line. After the penalty, and the handoff goes to Le'Veon Bell, who was the second running back drafted last April, and the first is on the other side of the field. We'll see him when Cincinnati has the ball in Bernard. So Bell got hurt in preseason, played very sparingly, and then missed the first 3 weeks and has worked his way back. But they love him. They think he is a star, and they think he'll be their running back for the next 7 or 8 years. Bell at 6'1" and 244. Roethlisberger, quick throw out to Antonio Brown. Breaks away from Kirkpatrick and picks up a first down. Let's take a look at the Cincinnati defense.
Carlos Dunlap, University of Florida.
Domata Peko, Michigan State.
Brandon Thompson, Clemson.
Mike Johnson, Georgia Tech.
James Harrison, Kent State University.
Ray Maulunga, the University of Southern California.
Vontaze Burfict, Arizona State.
Drake Kirkpatrick, Alabama.
Georgia Loca, the Boise State University.
Reggie Nelson, University of Florida.
Adam Jones, WVU.
Perfect, a guy whose name we figure to call a lot tonight. Leads the team in tackles by a mile as Bell takes the ball to the 40-yard line. Two guys who've been around for a while now. Mike Tomlin took over after Bill Cowher left following the 06 season. And on the other side, Marvin Lewis, already 11 years at the helm. Only Bill Belichick has been with his current team longer. Belichick 14 years with New England. Second down and 6 from the 40. And an inside give. Bell trying to get around the corner, but no, he gets gang tackled at the 39-yard line.
Well, the first time these two teams played, the Pittsburgh Steelers rushed for a grand total of 44 yards in that game, and due in large part to the fact that Marquise Pouncey had just been hurt. Fernando Velasco came in. They didn't have their tight ends, and Le'Veon Bell wasn't there. But other than that, they had everybody available. It clearly was a different-looking Steelers offense early in the season, but they are getting much, much better now.
And Pittsburgh comes up running no huddle here on the first series. As the toss goes to Bell, he has a little convoy out there. But breaking through and able to make the tackle was Carlos Dunlap, the defensive end.
Well, this is what they love to do, go with this bunch formation and then pull Heath Miller out and around. Of course, he was the team MVP a season ago, but got hurt late in the season and never really regained form until here just recently. So there they go, going to have to punt on their first possession. Nice stop by the Bengals.
This is Matt McBriar's kick, and it's fair caught at the 7-yard line by Brandon Tate. And Cincinnati gets the ball for the first time when we come back to Pittsburgh. Cruising down the Allegheny River here in Pittsburgh on a frigid night. Played a game last week against Miami in the snow, which the Dolphins were able to hold on and win. And now Dalton will start from the 7-yard line, and he throws to A.J. Green, his top receiver and one of the best in the league. That's a gain of 9, 2nd down and 1. So Dalton, drafted out of TCU 2nd round, 2011, and that line has done a great job, and he's been getting rid of the ball with alacrity. Hasn't been sacked in his last 93 dropbacks. That's 3 full games plus a bye week, so he hasn't been on the ground since early November.
That's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Hope to keep it up tonight to the Bengals on 2nd down and a short 1. High snap, and he gets it away, and if Polamalu had looked around, meanwhile it winds up in Anthony Collins' hands, and of course he's a tackle, so he can't handle the ball, because you've got Polamalu who was there, who was blanketing the receiver, but he didn't turn around, otherwise he has a pick.
Troy Polamalu got there before the ball did. Here he is right here, going to come out and make the tackle essentially before the ball even gets there, and makes his presence felt. He's been playing a lot at the linebacker position. I still think he is a much more dynamic player in space. You saw it right away.
So the ball hit the ground, so there's no ineligible receiver situation here. Simply an incomplete pass, 3rd down and 1, and they hand the ball off to Benjarvis Green-Ellis, who does their heavy lifting through the middle, and we'll see where they mark his forward progress. They needed a short 1. Ziggy Hood the first to get there. Ed Hockley's crew will put the ball down. Marvin Lewis wants to get a better look at it.
Watch big Al Woods right here, and then it's Vince Williams coming up late. But Al Woods basically took the Bengals offensive line and pushed it backwards, and that gave Vince Williams a chance to come up and stuff that one. That's a huge play inside by Al Woods, who's taking over for Steve McClendon tonight.
And Hood grabs him from behind, and Hockley will step in and take a look here. They're going to be that short of a 1st down. So Green-Ellis gets tackled a few inches shy. Marvin says get the punt unit in. And it's a 3 and out after a 9.5-yard gain on 1st down.
If you just took the Pittsburgh Steelers body of work and threw out those 11 plays over 50 yards, this is still a good defense, and they just showed it right there. They can stand up to anybody as long as they're not giving up those big plays.
Kevin Hubert upon Antonio Brown, who almost made a play for the ages last week on that multilateral play to end the game and barely stepped out of bounds before going into the end zone. Back to return the punt. And Hubert drops it. And can he get away? No, he can't. He'll get taken down for a safety by Will Allen. So on this windy night, and again, the wind can wreak havoc with everything, including snaps. We don't know if it did on that particular play. We'll take a look. But at least he's able to save 5 points by securing the ball and then getting tackled in the end zone for a safety.
I mean, that ball moved a good 2 feet in the air. It just went right off to the left. And now once the punter drops the ball, he is fair game, was he?
As the contact was made before the punter was driven into the end zone. Therefore, it's Steelers' ball on the 1-yard line.
Oh, very of course, because with forward progress, they're going to rule it inside the 1, and of course they lose the ball on downs, which gives Pittsburgh the opportunity to pick up those 5 points they almost cashed in on.
In a strange way, Marvin may want to take a look at this one. I thought the ball was still across the line. Remember, any part of that football that is on the line, the front part of the line, that would be a safe. Let's see. Very close.
Very close, but it looks like Hubert's trying to get away to get the kick away, and he can't. And so, does Lewis want to challenge? I don't see how he wins it, because it looks like the ball was outside the goal line. So Lewis does not challenge, and now Pittsburgh has the opportunity with Le'Veon Bell behind his fullback here. And he will take the ball almost to the goal line, but a little bit short. Michael Johnson makes the tackle.
It's so strange. We were down on the field beforehand, and the wind is really blowing about 20, 25 miles an hour, it feels like, from the Bengals sideline over to the Steelers sideline. Now, that's probably changed 10 times since we've been down there, but it is going to be a rough night to handle the football.
It's wind shear, as it is in most stadiums on a night like tonight. Bell, the single back. They give it to him, and Le'Veon Bell will get into the end zone for the touchdown. So really a bizarre turn of events as Huber can't handle the snap, tries to collect it, tried to get it away again, thought he had a safety, but forward progress had him outside the goal line, and then goes Bell for the TD.
The biggest difference for me watching the Steelers on offense now is the fact that they've got their 2 tight ends back in there again. Matt Spaeth and Heath Miller now back to the traditional blocking of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That wind just took that ball dead to the left, and he couldn't make the catch. What a start for Pittsburgh.
Bell's 6th rushing touchdown of the season. Sean Sweezum for the extra point. 9:58 left in the first quarter as the Pittsburgh Steelers take an early lead. And Sean Sweezum to send it down to Brandon Tate. And instead of Tate, fielding the ball in front of Tate is Cedric Pearman. And Pearman with a good run back to the 45-yard line. Did Pearman put his hand up as if to signal a fair catch? Let's go back and take a peek at this. Mike Tomlin is thinking the same thing I think that I just thought.
He waved his arm, but it was almost like he was just getting his body in position.
Yeah, I think then Hockley's now going to say that he called for a fair. Yes, he did. He's saying to Tate, I'll take it, like an outfield, like the center fielder calling off the left fielder, and Tomlin's right there to see it. So is Hockley and his crew. And so for the Bengals, it's been a crazy and negative start.
Well, and they're backed up inside their 10-yard line again. So now you have to deal with all those same issues. Special teams, the huge factor so far in this one.
So we called for a fair catch, which you can do on a kickoff. The same thing as on a punt. It comes to that spot. They start from the 9-yard line with an empty backfield. They go 4 wide, and the pass to the outside is incomplete, intended for Giovanni Bernard. Let's take a look at that Cincy offense.
Andy Dalton, TCU.
And Jarvis Green Ellis, the law firm, Ole Miss.
AJ Green, University of Georgia.
Mohamed Sanu, Rutgers.
Jermaine Gresham, the University of Oklahoma.
Tyler Eifert, Notre Dame.
AC, Beaumont Central.
Andrew Whitworth, LSU.
Kyle Cook, Michigan State.
Mike Pollard, Arizona State.
Andre Smith, Roll Tide.
Some shuffling along that offensive front, which is very interesting. We'll detail it a little bit later on 2nd down and 10. The ball is taken by Dalton. And Andy Dalton, not known necessarily for running except for his life from time to time, is able to pick up a first down.
Well, they go to an unbalanced line here now, and the Pittsburgh Steelers really are just short a guy over here. So they go read option and bring it out the other way, and there just simply is nobody on that side of the field. So a little change up with that offensive line set up Andy Dalton to get close to the first down, but they were here last time in this situation.
Yeah, Dalton doesn't run very much, 2.6 average, though he did run for a touchdown last week. He came up a little bit short, so it's 3rd and 1. And here goes Green Ellis again. And Green Ellis, who came up short the last time on a 3rd and inches, is very close here. The 19-yard line, but this time Hockley says, move the chains and we'll meet the Steeler defense.
Ziggy Hood, Missouri. Al Woods, LSU.
Cameron Hayward, the Ohio State University.
Jason Worlds, Montreal Defense. Vince Williams, FSU. Lawrence Timmons, Florida State.
Lamar Woodley, University of Michigan.
Cortez Allen, the Citadel.
Troy Polamalu, University of Southern California.
Ryan Clark, LSU.
Ike T. Swagger University.
Taylor's done a good job in the last couple of years with a flag thrown here before the snap and a false start. Talking about Taylor on
Before the ball was
green.
snapped, false start. Offense, number 71. 5-yard penalty, first down.
It's the right tackle, Andre Smith. But Chris, the big news has been on the left side, what they've done with Collins and Whitworth.
Yeah, Andrew Whitworth, the Pro Bowl left tackle, moved inside to guard after the injury to Clint Bowling. And Anthony Collins, a guy who's sort of moved around, been their 6th offensive lineman, has done a tremendous job as a pass blocker on the outside. Not always a stout guy, but very quick feet and a very good pass blocker.
Two guys with a lot of experience, one in his 6th year, the other in his 8th. The pass is incomplete. Intended for Andrew Hawkins. Lawrence Timmons, the linebacker, covering. 2nd and 15.
Andrew Hawkins has been out much of this season, really just kind of got back to action, and maybe just a little miscommunication there as they try and get it hooked up. You'll see Andy Dalton tonight, though. He is a very quick release kind of quarterback. Jay Gruden now, they have a lot of weapons on that side of the ball. They do not want to hold it against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
John's brother, Jay Gruden, calling the play. 2nd down and 15. Here's Bernard to the outside, and he gets hit and then taken down by the shirt by Terrence Garvin. And let's check in with Michelle.
Well, Pittsburgh linebacker Lamar Woodley, Al, is questionable with a right calf injury. He had been on the injury report with a calf injury, but we're told it was the opposite calf, and he missed 3 games with that one. Right now, he's questionable to return tonight.
All right, Lamar Woodley getting shaken up early in the game, and that's why Garvin was in the game. And 76-year-old Dick LeBeau, the defensive coordinator, 55 consecutive years as a player or coach, and in the Hall of Fame. Great defensive back during his playing career. 3rd and 11. Play clock at 1. And Dalton's going to get sacked at the 9-yard line. That's Ziggy Hood who comes in to take him down. And so Dalton, who had not been sacked since the 2nd week of November, and Brett Kiesel, the defensive end, who's inactive tonight, applauds from the sideline.
Good little pick play here. Cameron Hayward came down and picked off the other side of the line, and Ziggy Hood comes around for the sack. So a very good start for the Pittsburgh Steelers on defense.
So Huber, keep an eye on the snap this time. This time it's perfect, and Huber gets the kick away. It's a low kick. Brown collects it at the 43-yard line and brings the ball back to the Cincinnati 48. So Pittsburgh starts from that spot with 6.5 to go in the first quarter, and the Steelers up 7-0. Ben Roethlisberger, part of that class of 04, 10 years in the league, and last week broke Terry Bradshaw's record, 213 touchdown passes. Terry had 212, and Terry did it in 168 games. Ben did it in 140 games. And Ben, the record holder in pass attempts. Terry had the 4 Super Bowl titles, and Ben has a pair. And has been there 3 times. 2-1 is his record in the big game. Roethlisberger dancing around and checks it off underneath to Bell, breaking a tackle, and Le'Veon Bell for a gain of 11, tackled by Pecco, and Roethlisberger will go no huddle.
And more Ben Roethlisberger is running the show. Todd Haley's coming in as the offensive coordinator, and in this no huddle offense, it's Ben that's calling the plays.
And this is Le'Veon Bell. So much has been said and written in Pittsburgh about the relationship between the two, but Ben finally had enough last week. He said, he said, I love what we're doing.
Yeah, there's no question that Bruce Arians was in here and he was a favorite of Ben Roethlisberger's. And there was a little bit, he was upset when he left, but he and Todd Haley now have definitely worked everything out. They have a great working relationship, and Ben Roethlisberger is very happy with what's happening on this offense, due in part to the fact that he's getting to run the show out there, and it's working.
And also in part, one of the reasons that Haley came in was to protect Ben, who's battered and bruised throughout his entire career. He hasn't missed a snap this season. And the pass is a little low for Heath Miller, but he's able to go down on the turf and make the catch for a short gain.
You know, nobody really talked about the fact that Heath Miller was gone. He was voted MVP of this team a season ago. In week 16, ends up hurting his knee, came back, has played this season, but really it's just been the last couple of weeks we've seen him look like Heath Miller again.
2nd down and 6. Keep it on the ground, and breaking that play up, Bell gets taken down before he can get on track by the defensive end Michael Johnson. 3rd and 6.
Comes Michael Johnson, just going to slant down inside. They're going to try and use their athleticism with these outside pass rushers. Carlos Dunlop, Michael Johnson on the outside. Great ability to get after the quarterback, and now we've got an issue with one of the linemen.
That's Marcus Gilbert, who hasn't missed a start this season, down on the grass. Gilbert able to walk off under his own power. Guy Wimper will take his spot there. 6 different starting O-line combos for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. But through it all, they've been fine offensively. 3rd and 6. Little shovel pass, but that's Cotchery who makes the catch and gets hit immediately. Wallace Gilberry is there, and that will make it 4th down and 3.
Boy, a pretty interesting play there as they going to fake a swing and then hit this pass underneath it, a little shovel pass, but I think it's James Harrison who comes across. Probably saw that one in practice and cleaned that one up pretty good. Watch James Harrison come over right here and meet that one head on.
So it's 4th and 4. They're kind of in that spot where with the wind, you don't want to try a field goal. They're not going to punt. At least they're going to line up to go for it. Roethlisberger can also pooch punt it. But this time he's going to step away and throw and complete it to Bell for a 1st down. So Ben stepping up in the pocket, getting free, hits the rookie for a 1st down on a 4th and 4.
Well, Le'Veon Bell is going to come up here and make a great move, but this is really all about Ben Roethlisberger, just buying time as he's done so many times over the year. But to have Le'Veon Bell, a guy who is such a complete player back there. We've seen him with his skills running the football, but what sets him apart is what he can do as a blocker and as a receiver, what we just saw there, winning those one-on-one battles.
A little over 3 minutes to play in the quarter with Pittsburgh on top 7-0. Here goes Bell again. And Bell will chug his way for a gain of a couple.
You know, you just wonder what might have been this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers if they had not lost Marquise Pouncey on opening day. And it just completely left this offensive line in one of those, everybody had to shuffle. They bring in Fernando Velasco off the street, and now they're down to their 3rd center, Cody Wallace, who really did a pretty good job as a guy that came in last week with this new offense.
Got fined twice, once for reaching for a loose ball, in a manner of speaking. 2nd down and 7. Roethlisberger, look at that time, and then finally gets flushed out. As he throws, but completes it for the touchdown to Antonio Brown. A flag is down at the 7-yard line. So was somebody downfield because Ben took so much time to find time and get it away. And a little conference for the officials there. Hockley will give us the call.
There was no foul on the play for an ineligible downfield. Touchdown.
They pick up the flag. Brown is into the end zone on his 2nd catch of the night. It's a 2-touchdown lead for the Steelers.
The Bengals go with a 2-man rush. They drop both defensive tackles, which means there is just simply nobody getting any pressure on Ben. He moves around, and the Pittsburgh Steelers off to a tremendous start here.
Sean Sweezum out of a Matt McBriar hold on this windy night for the extra point. And Ben Roethlisberger has started the game 7 for 7. They convert a 4th and 4. And Pittsburgh on top 14-0 on Sunday Night Football. Some flurries possible later. Temperature will drop to about 15, they tell us. Bengal fans coming out, not necessarily in force, but a bunch of them here tonight. Their team 9-4, and Cincinnati not that far away.
Well, they're that far away right now, down 14-0 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is not what you're hoping for in Cincinnati. This was a great day today. They caught a break. The Dolphins beat the Patriots. They get a chance to be the #2 seed. Come in here and knock off a 5-8 football team and get off to a disastrous start.
Yeah, just to reiterate, if you joined us a little bit late, they cannot clinch a playoff spot tonight, the Bengals. They would go to 10-4, but if they win tonight and the season ended tomorrow night, they would have the #2 seed in the AFC. And of course, as you all know, if you follow the NFL, there's a gigantic difference between 2 and 5 or 6. As Cedric Pierman runs his second kickback. This time he didn't have to call for it. A fair catch and takes it to the 34. Well, Dalton came into the league out of TCU's second round in the 2011 draft, and of course against the Steelers and the Ravens, who've been the class of the division since he came into the NFL. 3-7 against the rest of the league, a 25-10 mark.
Well, he's capable. We've seen him. He was player of the month in October. He was player of the week last week, a 3-touchdown, no interception day, as did Ben on the other side of the ball. But now's when it's got to start kicking in, and I'm going to guess A.J. Green's got to be a part of it.
Give it to Benjarvis Green Ellis for a short gain. Al Woods makes the stop.
Well, Al Woods already is starting to dominate inside the Bengals with Mike Pollock in there for Kevin Zeitler, who's coming off a foot injury. And so far up front, Kyle Cook and Mike Pollock been no match for Al Woods.
Dalton flushed out, and then the pass is thrown into the Steelers sideline. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
It's always tough playing against the Dick LeBeau defense. You never know where the coverage is going to come from. This time it's Lawrence Timmons coming right underneath Tyler Eifert, which is exactly where Dalton wanted to go with the ball, but Timmons beat him to the spot, and then he just had to throw it away. Very, very good player right there in Lawrence Timmons, their leading tackler.
51 starts, equivalent of 3 years and 3 games. 3rd down and 9 from the 34. And the pass is dropped. That's Ike Taylor right there. Boy, he's really been a handful for Green. Green's only good game against Pittsburgh in his career was when Taylor was missing.
Well, one of the problems you've got when you play against this defense is the blitz is going to come and you don't necessarily know where that's coming from. Then you get the coverage on the outside, and Ike Taylor has really been a major thorn in the side of the Cincinnati Bengals, especially A.J. Green, who has not been able to solve that puzzle.
That was Jason Worlds who was able to barge into the backfield. Now Huber setting at his own 20-yard line, and we've got a whistle before the snap.
False start offense, number 21. 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
Man, you couldn't guess which team was 9-4 at this point, could you?
No, Brandon G with the penalty here. There's Dalton on the Cincinnati bench. Huber, who mishandled the snap on one punt leading to a Pittsburgh touchdown. His other punt went 48 yards. Handles this one cleanly, but it's another short kick. Fielded the 33-yard line by Brown. Brown coming back through the middle. Brown out in front, and nobody's going to catch him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have a 3-touchdown lead. 67 yards, but there's a penalty flag down. No, Kevin Huber is down. No flag. Huber is down. Kevin Huber, after he was able to get the punt away, gets whacked as the Pittsburgh Steelers celebrate.
Boy, Jason DeMonch is going to get faked out of his shorts right there by Antonio Brown. And what a player he is. I really believe he was the most valuable player on the Steelers a couple of years ago and probably is going to get it again this year. He has been simply fantastic. Oh, boy.
Oof.
Head on the swivel there, young Kevin Huber, when that starts happening.
So the extra point coming when we come back. 20-0, going on 21. When Huber got up, but as you can see, he was cut, and he's going to go back to the locker room as he just had only the second punt in his 5 seasons in the league returned for a touchdown. There's Garvin, who put the hit on him. It was a 67-yard run back. Brown has 2 touchdowns tonight in a nightmarish first period for Cincinnati, and Sean squeezed him for the extra point. So with 1:12 remaining, and there is Antonio Brown. He's already been named the Steelers MVP once in his career, and he can make another case for him this season too.
Kevin Huber takes a heck of a shot. You wonder if he bit through his lip or maybe even his tongue here, right underneath the chin. Remember, you can't peel back towards the goal line and make this kind of hit, but this is really pretty parallel to the line of scrimmage. So I think that's going to end up being okay, but it wasn't just that hit. Cortez Allen, Antoine Blake on the outside, destroying G. And all over the field now, we're seeing the Cincinnati Bengals getting beat up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let's just not rephrase that any other way. Right now, this looks like old days of the Pittsburgh Steelers, old days of the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're taking a whipping.
Blast from the pass, at least if you're a Steeler fan. Dalton is 1 for 6 for 9 yards. Roethlisberger is a perfect 7 for 7. Not only is Huber the punter as he goes back for repairs, he's also the holder on placements.
Wow.
There goes Harrison back to the locker room, and Michelle mentioned he's been sick the last couple of days. And we'll check on him. Bengals just want to get out of the first quarter right now. It's been a disaster. Kick fielded by Tate. From the 6, he brings the ball back to the 23-yard line. History of the Cincinnati franchise going back to 68, 21 points allowed, tied for the most allowed in the first quarter since the Bengals were founded by Paul Brown. And the Steelers tied for the most points scored in the first quarter in a history that goes all the way back to the 30s, as Giovanni Bernard is the running back here at the 23-yard line. Dalton 0 for his last 5. At least he completes this one for a short gain to A.J. Green, covered there by Cortez Allen.
Well, now they've got Cortez Allen out on A.J. Green. He's a little bit bigger. We saw a week ago against Mike Wallace, did a good job, and his size helped. And you got the feeling that they may just start leaving those corners on either side and not flip-flop Ike Taylor, who's done such a good job with A.J. Green. Thought it helped with their communication.
2nd and 4, and wrapped up. That's Lawrence Timmons not letting Bernard get out of the backfield. We go to Michelle.
Well, James Harrison, you saw him walking back to the locker room. He's actually doubtful. He's gone back there for a concussion evaluation, but they've already declared him doubtful. As for punter Kevin Huber, they've described it as a dental injury, Al, and his return is questionable.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And you can see all the gauze in his mouth as he went back to the locker room. So the Bengals, in the waning seconds of the quarter, have a 3rd down and 3, and they will not get the playoff. That will be the end of the first quarter. Who will punt? Who will hold? How can they come back from a 21-point deficit? End of 1, 21-0 Pittsburgh, and Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Sunday Night Football from the Steel City, where in the first quarter the Steelers with 3 touchdowns, 2 thanks to special teams, and a 21-0 lead. 25 degrees the temperature right now, and we begin with a 3rd down and 3 for the Cincinnati Bengals from the 30-yard line.
Bengals have to be scared to death to punt the football.
And
14 points.
There's Nugent, the place kicker, with Huber back in the locker room. Nugent has 1 punt in his career. It came as a Jet in his rookie season in 05. Bengals going 5 wide here. Pressure put on, and the pass is batted away. Intended for Bernard. There's a flag down. Timmons got a hand on it. Hood puts his palms up as if to say, what?
Before the pass was thrown, holding defense number 94. That's a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
It's on Timmons.
If the Bengals are going to get back in it, this is how they're going to do it. Giovanni Bernard on the outside going against the linebacker Lawrence Timmons, one of the most athletic linebackers in the game. Pretty good coverage there. They did call it. But every time now Andy Dalton gets into that spread empty sort of set, Pittsburgh Steelers going to come after him.
Dalton running for his life here, and then the pass is incomplete, broken up by Ike Taylor. That time he was covering Mohamed Sanu. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Well, Ike Taylor always gets the best wide receiver that the other team has to offer, and that's going back many years against some of the all-time best. In perfect position there, just knocked it away from Sanu on that one. But at some point now, the Bengals are going to have to start winning some of these one-on-one matchups. I mean, this is an older secondary back there. Ike Taylor, Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, all in their 30s, and they've given up a lot of big plays, but nothing tonight.
Ike Slagan, 4th-round pick back in 03.
False start offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
So that's Andrew Whitworth talking about him going from tackle to guard, and they did that in the San Diego game and decided to make it permanent. And so Whitworth was telling us he told Marvin Lewis that, hey, I'm fine with moving to guard. We'll keep Collins on the outside. And Marvin told us last night, yeah, he texted me. I said, he texted you from where? He said, from 3 rows back on the plane with Wi-Fi.
Welcome to 2013.
2nd and 15 from the 30-yard line. Look out, Dalton pressured again. Escapes, throws, and it's incomplete. Hayward was chasing him. It'll be 3rd and 15.
Well, this Cameron Hayward has really come into his own lately. 4 sacks in the last 6 games, I believe it is. But for Dick LeBeau, he just simply has said that he has come so far. About the middle of last year, he started acting like he was going to be the guy. Then he came to training camp and set a new world record for most fights in training camp, and it's carried right over here. He's really filled in and done a nice job up front and made a big difference.
Son of the late Ironhead Hayward of New Orleans Saints fame, and that pass is caught at the 44-yard line by Green. A.J. Green is going to be a little short of the 1st down. William Gay makes the tackle, and now you're going to have a 4th down and 1.
And one of the problems that you have as a wide receiver, you want to get beyond that line of scrimmage before you start coming back. Let's see if A.J. Green held on to this thing.
He's losing control of it there. Body obscures the ball there.
Well, clearly moves. I think it's on the ground.
It's definitely on the ground. And now that replay has been seen by everybody, and Mike Tomlin can challenge it. And there's the flag thrown by Mike, and he's going to win this one. At least we're
Pittsburgh is challenging the ruling on the field that the pass was complete.
We're 99 and 44, 100% certain of that. Speaking of Cincinnati, P&G.
There you go.
Challenge. Back on it. Here comes the call on the challenge from Ed Hockley.
The ball hit the ground. The pass was therefore incomplete. It's 4th and 15 on the 30-yard line. Please reset the clock to 14:41. Pittsburgh has not charged a timeout.
So that makes it 4th down and 15. And now here comes Nugent with Huber hurt. One punt for 18 yards as a second-round draft choice rookie with the Jets back in 05.
You can kick it 18 yards.
Well, thanks.
I can get it 9.
And, well, looks like a little bit more than an 18-yard here, and he does get a good bounce, and it will roll all the way to the 33-yard line. And after a 37-yard punt, here's Michelle.
Well, it looks like Nugent's going to continue to punt for the rest of the night because Kevin Hubert now is out with a fractured jaw. You see that injury there when he got blindsided by Terrence Garvin. It is a dental injury indeed, a fractured jaw. He is out.
Well, there he is, Nugent, who is also the holder. Meanwhile, you got Marcus Gilbert back in for Pittsburgh at right tackle. By the way, I was the Ray guy of my generation, just in case you.
I'll give you 19 yards.
Right. So a 37-yard punt. Here's Roethlisberger. And a swing pass to Emmanuel Sanders. And Sanders spinning away, breaking tackles, going down the sideline. Big gainer. So Emmanuel Sanders, who looked to be stopped after a 6 or 7 yard gain, winds up going for 27. Broke away from Mawaluga.
A lot of missed tackles in the game in the second half last week for the Cincinnati Bengals against Indianapolis. And starting off with the same sort of familiar ring to it in this one tonight. Everything going the Steelers' way thus far.
From the 46 on first down. And that is bobbled and caught by Sanders. You know, this league is it's just so crazy. I mean, a gift is given by Miami today to Cincinnati beating New England. Dallas has this huge lead. They get a gift when Minnesota beats Philadelphia. Nobody can take advantage of it.
Well, you know, and the Pittsburgh Steelers out here now with absolutely nothing to lose. So they're coming out and playing loose and free and easy. And this is the team, though, we talked about, watching them on tape the last couple of weeks. This is starting to look like the team we thought we were going to see before they had all those injuries in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season.
Roethlisberger is 9 for 9. And stays perfect. And this time on the right side it is Sanders, and that may have netted a first down, very close. He'll spot the ball at the 35-yard line and move the chains.
Starting to come with some pressure now. Reggie Nelson, a safety, comes around and gets a good shot on Ben Roethlisberger, but he's getting the ball out of his hands so quickly. Todd Haley has to be enjoying that, because in reality, that's what Todd Haley was brought here to do. To force Ben to get the ball out of his hands quicker so he could stay healthier and not take those kinds of hits.
And it's working. This year he has not missed a snap. Here that's just been truncated with injuries as it's Heath Miller making the catch, and the chant of Heath goes up. Mawaluga making the tackle. 2nd and 1.
One of the things that Roethlisberger has done this year is with his intellect now, he's not taking hits. They bring the safety again, and so he throws right behind it. Blitz coming that way, fine. He just has Heath, a little hot read, pitch and catch, and now you're not quite so brave to dial up all those blitzes.
Back to the ground. Bell. And he will pick up the first down on a 2nd and short, 23-yard line.
Well, as long as they stay in this no-huddle offense, it'll be Ben Roethlisberger calling the plays. But that's part of what Haley wanted to do. He wanted to educate Ben, get him set up in the offense, teach him to get the ball out of the hand a little quicker, a lot more screens out there, and then cut him loose. He's a veteran player. He knows what he's doing, and he gets the last look at the defense. Why not?
11 for 11. Pay the line. Here's Bell. And Bell gets taken down after a gain of 8 yards, getting to the 16-yard line. Reggie Nelson, the safety, stopping him there. 2nd down and 2.
Kelvin Beachum back after being out with a knee injury a week ago, and he's going to get some good movement up there. You get the feeling this Pittsburgh Steelers team really likes Kelvin Beachum, and they think he can be the long-term answer at left tackle.
Then on 2nd and 2, slings it to the right side, and that's another first down. Antonio Brown making the catch. Brown has caught 5 or more passes in every game this season. He already has 3 grabs tonight, including a touchdown catch.
And I think that he's really benefited maybe most just in the number of catches with Todd Haley becoming the coordinator, because they have so many more of those screens, so many more of those quick throws where they just want to get the ball in the hands of these great athletes on the outside and let them go to work.
1st and goal from the 5. Roethlisberger, and it's the first incomplete pass of the night. Matt Spaeth, the number 2 tight end, the intended receiver. 2nd and goal.
Now, but Matt Spaeth, and he's not going to be a receiver first, but he is a guy that has added a lot with the blocking on the outside. And again, so many of those 3-by-1 formations with he and Heath on the same side, their running game is now much more complete.
2nd and goal. 5 wide. Defense a little confused as they try to get set here. And Roethlisberger to the outside. The pass a little low, and it is taken there by Sanders. That'll be a loss of a couple. Adam Jones making the stop.
It's kind of interesting about Emmanuel Sanders, the guy that was given an offer sheet by the New England Patriots, which the Steelers match, but they have to make that same decision again this year. Jericho Cotchery, Emmanuel Sanders, receivers that are going to be free agents, and they've got some talent behind them too. Marcus Wheaton waiting in the wings.
8 touchdowns, as you saw, in their last 8 trips into the red zone. Can they make it 9? It's 3rd down and goal. Cotchery in motion. Fake handoff, and into a lot of traffic intended for Cotchery. The guy he looks to very often in those situations. The pass is incomplete, and Loka coming up thinking, I should have the interception.
Either one of them could have had the interception. A little razzle dazzle, but now watch, the Bengals have 2 guys in position to make the interception, Dre Kirkpatrick as well, and they knock each other off the ball. That has been the kind of night it's been thus far for the Bengals. Even when they have a chance to make a play, they get one of those.
They limit him to a field goal attempt. Sean Sweezum from 25 yards out. And he bangs that one through with 9.5 to play in the opening half. And the Pittsburgh Steelers lead the Bengals 24-0.
I tell you, the Cincinnati Bengals have come a long way under Marvin Lewis. That was a couple of dry decades in Cincinnati where nothing seemed to be going right, and now they have a chance to make the playoffs for the 3rd straight year.
Well, they missed you. I mean, this is the first time that the Steelers have been an underdog at home to the Bengals since 1989, the year after you retired.
How's it going so far here?
They've got a uniform down there for you.
No thanks.
If you can punt.
I could barely make it through what we did with Costas on the field.
Oh. Yeah, well, the wind keeps blowing the ball off the tee, so that's going to be Cortez Allen who comes in to hold it.
Didn't see this one coming, did you?
No, not at all. From the 1, Brandon Tate. And Brandon Tate with a great run back here, and they will force him out of bounds after he crosses the 50. Antoine Blake knocks him out of bounds, and Cincinnati has the ball in Pittsburgh territory. Ben Roethlisberger, you go from 04 through 12, almost 23 points a game. The defense good, 16.7 points per game allowed, best in the league over that period of time. This year the offense about the same, 22.5 points a game, but the defense, there's your big difference, 50% more points per game being allowed.
And we talked about it a little bit before. It's really the big plays that they typically do not give up.
And Here's Dalton throwing, and that'll be caught inside the 30-yard line by A.J. Green. Mike Tomlin saying very clearly, he said, we are just not an elite defense right now.
Yeah, and we asked him about the older guys in the secondary, and he said, guys, listen, that's not elite. 11 plays over 50 yards is not elite. Everybody is on the table at this point, and that means Ike Taylor and Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu, who has a big payday coming for next year. They're looking at everything.
Well, Cincinnati, after that 52-yard run back, trying to climb this big mountain here. And this is Bernard taking the ball to the 20-yard line. He was picked in the second round last year to North Carolina this past spring, and he was the top running back picked in the draft. And he gives them an opportunity, along with BenJarvus Green-Ellis, to have a little yin and yang in the offensive backfield. But this is a guy who can break one anytime, and is a great pass receiver as well.
No doubt about it. And what you see in the NFL now is a lot of man coverage. Nobody feels like they can sit back and play zone defenses against these great quarterbacks. So what happens is you've got to have these little scat back kind of guys that can win one-on-one battles. And there goes Ike Taylor off the field, and maybe the Bengals could use a little help, because the one game that A.J. Green has had a big game in his career against the Steelers is when Ike Taylor didn't play.
Well, right now Green has all 3 catches. Dalton is 3 of 11. Taylor out, 8.5 to go in the half. Second down and 2. William Gay goes over to that side to take his spot, with Green coming off the line on the left side, and then Green turning back in to face Dalton. It makes his 4th grab at the 12-yard line. First down, Cincinnati.
You know, it's kind of interesting, Al. We're seeing a little bit less of Troy Polamalu playing the linebacker position in the dime. Looks like this ball may have been tipped coming out, and they still got it completed. But they're flanking Polamalu out now on the slot receiver and trying to play him out there, as opposed to inside, where I don't think he's been quite as effective, just from the standpoint you take away that sort of intimidation factor.
Taylor missed only 1 play. He's back in, and that pass turning around is A.J. Green. He was covered that time by Allen, and it's incomplete. Second down.
Now they try a little double move there, come up and just run the hitch at the top, and then try to stutter step and go off of that. Ball just thrown a little bit outside, and you wonder what the wind did with that ball. It's one thing when you're trying to drive the ball through the wind, it doesn't move much. You throw one of those floaters up there, and who knows what happens.
Cincinnati good in the red zone, 3rd in the league, converting close to 70% of the time. Second down and 10. Ball is handed off to Bernard. Giovanni Bernard to the 8-yard line. Third down.
Well, here's what you get with Troy Polamalu in there at linebacker. This is what they do with the dime defense and bring him up. But what happens is offensive linemen end up getting down on him. And that's really a difficult thing for a guy that weighs just over 200 pounds to have to try and take on a 295-pound offensive lineman, but he is Troy Polamalu.
On 3rd and 5. Dalton, a little shovel pass, and putting his head down is Bernard to the 2-yard line. Might be a little short, but I've got to think Lewis would go for it here, even if it is short. Ockley taking a look, lines it up, and I think he wants to bring the chain gang in, and does.
That was pretty impressive there by Giovanni Bernard. He put his head down and moved the pile, and I think that was Ziggy Hood back there. Comes around here, and he's going to be well short if they make this tackle, but he just drives that pile straight back towards the first down marker, and that was Ziggy Hood, one of the strongest guys in football.
Just a couple of lengths shy. So down by 24. Marvin Lewis will keep the offense in there, 4th and inches.
And here comes an interesting time in this game, because the Bengals don't really have that true fullback. They have Alex Smith in there as one of 3 tight ends, and when they have their tight ends in at fullback, you don't always see movement. Let's see if Alex Smith, who kind of got knocked off a play like this earlier in the game, can make a play on this one right here.
He's the fullback, and then you got Bernard as the tailback. A 4th and inches, and Dalton's going to keep it himself and get the first down, taking it to the 1-yard line. 1st and goal with 6.5 to go in the opening half.
Well, Marvin Lewis dead on the money with that. No choice but to try and go for it from there, because you do have to remember that this is as one-sided as that score looks like. Your defense is playing okay, but they've given up 14 points and maybe more than that because they had the fair catch on the kickoff as well. So special teams a disaster. Just need to get back in. Now Domata Peko comes in at fullback. This will be a little different.
He's done this many times. There he is, fronting the tailback as the handoff is taken to the half-yard line by Bernard. So it'll be 2nd down and goal.
No problem when Domata Peko at 330 pounds plays fullback. He's going to come flying through here. We saw a game earlier where Peko just about destroyed Troy Polamalu on one of those lead plays when he was coming up and trying to make a play in the backfield.
He had Whitworth there at 335 and Peko well into the 3s, and Peko still in at fullback. 2nd and goal. Bernard, and this time he's going to take it in for the touchdown.
Bernard.
So the Cincinnati Bengals trailing by 24, getting a good run back to get them started here. Go 47 yards in 4.5 minutes to try to get back into the game.
Nice pull here by Andrew Whitworth, taking over at the guard position, and was able to get just enough of Lawrence Timmons coming around there. That's a tough block to make down on the goal line. And then Giovanni Bernard up over the top. Big touchdown for the Bengals. Get them back in it.
Meanwhile, you have to have Dalton stay in the game now because he has to hold for the extra point. Nugent, the kicker. Huber got hurt, and he does a nice job there. Just assume somewhere along the line he probably has held for a few placements, and it's 24-7. Well, the Steelers have this Salute the Heroes program, and the family of Marine Lance Corporal Corey LeMasters here at the game accepting what they thought was just an honor on his behalf because they thought he was in Afghanistan, and the Steelers then surprised the family by bringing him out between the 1st and 2nd quarter, and that was the happy reunion and a great pre-Christmas gift.
I love the look on his face coming out, a little wry smile. He knew he got him.
Yeah, he did. And you look at the Rooney family to the left in the front row, Art the second, and in the back row, Dan Rooney. Of course, the Rooney family has had this team for, well, since they were founded.
Yeah, a model franchise, wouldn't you say? I mean, they really are. They do things the right way and treat them with class. It gets returned, and a lot of admiration around the league for the way this franchise does business.
Nugent's kick is fielded at the 6. Felix Jones, the ex-Dallas Cowboy, will get corralled at the 26-yard line. So Ben Roethlisberger tonight has misfired only twice. He's 13 of 15 with a touchdown. And for Andy Dalton, he's completed 5 passes out of 14 throws tonight, 4 of them to A.J. Green.
The core difference in what the Steelers have done under Todd Haley is they have about 7% fewer passes in that intermediate range, 11 to 20, and about 7% more of the short distance. But long passes over 20 yards, numbers almost identical to when Bruce Arians was here as the offensive coordinator.
Running back here is Felix Jones, and he'll carry it, bouncing to the outside for a gain of 1 to the 28-yard line.
There's some of the numbers we were talking about, and really it hasn't changed a whole lot. There's the short passes, a little bit higher there, about 7% higher.
But more than 20 yards from the line of scrimmage, 18 completions, 7 touchdowns. And it's both most in a season since 09, the year after they won the Super Bowl. 2nd down and 9 from the 28. Jones has room and gets tackled up at the 40-yard line. Reggie Nelson rides him down after a first down. Gain of 12.
Pretty nice job there by David DeCastro coming up and cleaning up the edge on that one. And for Felix Jones, that's what he does best. I mean, it really is. He is a bounce out kind of a runner, and if you give him that edge, he's going to make some big plays for you. Not really the power guy, but came over once Le'Veon Bell got hurt, and he was needed.
Jones again for 3 straight carries. Jones to the 44-yard line before Adam Jones, the former Adam Pac-Man Jones, makes the stop. Mike Zimmer has been an NFL defensive coordinator since 2000 when he was with Dallas. Stayed there in the Parcells regime. Went to Atlanta for a year, and then to Cincinnati in 08.
Yeah, he and Todd Haley coached on that same staff in Dallas together.
2nd and 6 from the 44. Roethlisberger with time. Miller makes the catch, and the tight end takes the ball into Cincinnati territory. First down, tackled by Mawaluga.
I tell you, for the Cincinnati Bengals, a major difference this year without Geno Atkins in there. Watch the lack of pressure here. Good protection on the part of the Steelers, but back when you had the double team Geno Atkins inside, those ends, Carlos Dunlap and Michael Johnson, were a nightmare to try and block on the edge.
Here's Jonathan Dwyer now. He's the number 3 running back, and he takes the ball to the 42-yard line.
Jonathan Dwyer last year against the Bengals in Cincinnati, a game we did. Remember that one? About 127 yards. I think that was his career high, but in many ways overpowered Cincinnati in that one.
Steelers going no huddle just about the entire half. 2nd down and 5 from the 42. Toss to Dwyer. Has room. Head down to the 31-yard line. He goes. Tackle there by Kirkpatrick, and that's going to take us down to the 2-minute warning here in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers lead the Bengals 24-7 on Sunday Night Football. 2 minutes remaining in the half from the 43-yard line. Felix Jones, the running back, on first down. And Jones to the 28-yard line. He goes.
Well, for Ben Roethlisberger, it's sort of fun for me to watch him at the line of scrimmage now. He is really, every time the Bengals are showing a sign of weakness, he's getting into an audible quickly. And a lot of times it's these edge plays and the ability to get outside the Bengals defense if he feels good about it going that way.
Jones again chugging his way. Well, came out of the scrum and finally goes down again at just about the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd and 5.
You know, the other issue the Bengals have tonight is I'm sure they would like to bring some pressure here, but it's tough with some of these defensive backs out of the game.
3rd and 5 when we come back. Third down and 5 after the Cincinnati timeout, and the pass is incomplete off the hands of Antonio Brown. So it'll be 4th down and 5, and the Steelers will send Sweezum out.
Sometimes you get those quick little slant throws and you have to catch the ball and throw it, and oh, forget about it wherever the laces are. You just wonder, he's got such a big hand. We've seen him with those incredible pump fakes over the years, but that one unable to hit home.
Sweezum 1 for 1 tonight. He's made his last 10. He made his first 15 this season and missed 2 in a row in Oakland. His only 2 misses of the year. This is a 45-yard attempt. And into a swirling wind, the kick is good. Well, Sweezum's great season continues. 1:14 remaining in the opening half, and it's a 20-point Steeler lead.
No doubt about it. It has been a night of special team miscues for the Cincinnati Bengals. Right off the bat, the drop snap led to 7 points, and then it was Antonio Brown, and there were big hits all over the field, and the Bengals lost their punter, Kevin Huber. and may well lost the game without the offense or defense even being on the field. And then for good measure, Sean squeezed them into a crazy win, made it look easy into the open end of the stadium.
And Mike Tomlin. Of course, Mike's been very much in the NFL news cycle. The Thanksgiving night Jacoby Jones run back, the $100,000 fine that he got for standing on the sideline, and some people thought it was intentional, and Mike was shocked when he found out a couple of days later. Said I was late to that part. He said, I can't believe people thought it was intentional.
Well, don't you think a little bit of it when people saw him smiling on the sidelines and made him look like he got away with something, but in reality what was happening, the veteran players over there were all cracking jokes and making fun of him for being in the way, and he was sort of trying to laugh it off and get the focus back on the game, but that was sort of interpreted one way and maybe really intended as something else.
Well, we were there that night because they replayed it about 5 times when we were in commercial on Thanksgiving night. And here's Tomlin.
As he always does, looks up at the replay board to watch the kickoff returns, thinks it gives him a better angle. And there he is. Asked Marvin Lewis about it last night, and he said, listen, nobody could think that fast, that the play was breaking that way, and I'm going to go out and try and disturb his path. And he wasn't buying any of that conspiracy theory.
Pass incomplete, intended for Jones. So will Mike ever come close to doing that again? Well, here he was on the last kickoff.
Surprised he wasn't standing behind the bench. It made him mad. You could just tell, though, that he was embarrassed by it. He's a guy that believes in the rules and the competition committee and all that stuff, and he took total blame for it, and he got hammered by the league for it.
$100,000 plus they figured to take a late round draft choice away from Pittsburgh as Dalton runs the ball out to the 25-yard line as we tick down to a minute. Jason World's making the stop.
You know, you gotta stop and think about this one here, because you have to punt it with your field goal kicker, and it might go about 25 yards. I don't think Antonio Brown's going to give him a free roll next time. I thought maybe you might even see Pittsburgh take a timeout, but 27-7, they're probably happy with that.
Yeah, that was running through his mind. You could tell Tomlin on that sideline, he had that look. Do I want to take the timeout here? Because Cincinnati now is going to use as much time as they can to avoid another precarious situation. Swing it to the outside, and this is Sanu who will pick up the first down at the 33-yard line. So now let's see if Cincinnati takes the timeout, and they do. This was Tomlin addressing that whole situation in Baltimore the Monday after Thanksgiving.
My descriptions of my actions on that play are a lot of things: embarrassing, inexcusable, illegal, a blunder. As head coaches, man, we're held to the highest standards of conduct, and I realized that that blunder fell woefully short of that expectation.
And really what was bizarre about it was he wasn't even flagged on the play. I mean, the official ran. Usually the officials run into the coaches because they're standing in the white. Very seldom are they standing actually on the field, so the official didn't hit him and never threw the flag.
Yeah, ran behind him. The Jets were flagged for a penalty on a similar play the week before. His little dump off to Giovanni Bernard. He'll take it to the 42-yard line. And Hayward makes the tackle, and the Bengals, who do have one timeout, elect not to do it and just go back to
that's interesting.
The locker room. Yeah, it's kind of unusual, but that's what they have done, and they're going to get the second half kickoff. Meanwhile, all Pittsburgh in the opening half, 27-7. Short kick fielded on the run up at the 11-yard line. Brandon Tate. And Tate, good run back out to the 38-yard line, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, with the Bengals down 20 at halftime, Marvin Lewis told me, we just got to regroup and get back to fundamentals. We got to make positive plays and first downs, and he smiled and said, we'll be fine, but they'll also be without James Harrison, officially out now with a concussion. As for Mike Tomlin, he said, it's not as though we've dominated this game. The difference in this game has come in the kicking game, so we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we don't expect Cincinnati to change their personality.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And the difference has been special teams play, costing the Bengals, in effect, 2 touchdowns as Dalton throws and the pass is incomplete. A.J. Green lunging for it, and it'll be 2nd down and 10. Well, Cincinnati, one thing, Chris, is they are undefeated at home, and after tonight they're done with road games, and they go home and they'll take on Minnesota and then Baltimore the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, they've scored over 40 points in the last 3 games at home and under 20 average on the road the last 3. So this has been a team that a little Jekyll and Hyde, depending on if they're playing in Cincinnati or not.
There's a toss to Benjarvis Green Ellis. Short gain and a penalty flag.
I think they're going to get Andrew Whitworth on that one.
Holding. Offense, number 77.
Indeed.
10-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Andrew Whitworth is quick enough to make that block, and he reached out and grabbed instead. Moving into that guard position, you have to give him a lot of credit. Here's a guy that's probably going to get voted to go to the Pro Bowl playing left tackle. They move him inside, which may or may not allow him to get those kind of votes now. People will see him at guard and be sort of split with their votes. But a great team leader, great guy as far as doing whatever it takes to win.
8th year in the league out of LSU. Whitworth, Dalton. He's going to move up to the 32-yard line. It'll be 3rd and long.
Here's the replacement over at left tackle, Anthony Collins, working against Hayward on that side, and you can see the ability to move his feet. He is a very quick guy, played basketball all the way through until his senior year of high school, and then came out and they put him on the defensive side, went to Kansas, and they started working with him at left tackle, and here he is playing the National Football League and starting. So not a lot of experience for him, but a guy who definitely is making his presence felt.
5 wide on 3rd and 15. Set up a screen with Gresham. And the tight end lunging and then loses the ball as he tried to pick up the 1st down. But they're going to say down by contact, just a yard shy of the 1st down at the 46-yard line.
I'm not so sure. I'm going to have to see this one again. Ball definitely gets ripped out by Polamalu. Does that knee down? I don't know about that one. I'm a little surprised the Bengals are going to punt this football, too. Well, a challenge flag down already.
The crowd is seeing this, and it's a clear recovery by Pittsburgh, by Hood. So there is the 2nd challenge flag thrown by Tomlin. He won an earlier one and figures to win this one as well.
But the runner was down before the ball came out.
Good Hockley under the hood. Back after this. Still in a review, we think that Tomlin will win the challenge because the ball starts to come out as Gresham's knee is on Taylor's arm. But as the ball comes out, the knee will be on Taylor's arm, but that doesn't mean he's down. It's got to touch the ground right there. Ball starts to come loose, and we think Tomlin wins the challenge.
Now, even if that sort of shin area had been down on the ground, that would have been good enough.
The ball did come out. The player's shin was on the defender's arm. He therefore was not down when the ball came loose. It's Pittsburgh's ball, 1st down on the 48-yard line. And Pittsburgh is not charged the timeout. Because Pittsburgh has won the first 2 challenges, they have another challenge remaining.
Yep. Rule instituted a couple of years ago. You get 2 challenges, and then you get a 3rd if you win the prior 2, and that's the situation Tomlin's in right now.
How about Troy Polamalu? Who would have believed that Ben Roethlisberger would have had the year he's having, Troy Polamalu would have had the year he's having, and the Steelers would be having the year that they're having.
Right.
I mean, you just don't anticipate that happening, but I think due to a lot of early injuries and not being able to play their style of football, it just caught up to them with that slow start.
Came out of the gate 0-4, then won 5 out of 7. But then those 2 killer losses to Baltimore and Miami the last 2 weeks. Bell swings to the outside. Hurdle move and a gain of 8. Flag down.
Holding offense number 87. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Repeat first down.
Tight end Matt Spaeth.
Spaeth a hold on the outside as Le'Veon Bell started to bounce out. He just reacted to that. I guess had a little bit of the jersey right there, which they all do. And then Le'Veon Bell. I tell you, I really enjoy watching him play. For a young guy, he is so patient. And there you see the athleticism as well. Good young player.
And Kirkpatrick said, what was that that just went by me? Hurdling over the cornerback. It's first down and 20. And they take a couple of handoffs, and then it's Bell who takes it. And Bell, who needed 20 for a first down, gets about 17 of those before Burfict makes the tackle.
It's a really good play by Vontaze Burfict. That one looked like it was about to go the distance here. I think that's him coming out right there, and he is getting trapped inside. Now he's got to weave his way through all these offensive linemen, or else that one is in trouble. Vontaze Burfict leading the National Football League in tackles now. What a find for the Cincinnati Bengals. A guy, an undrafted free agent, 33 linebackers taken ahead of him.
Fake to Dwyer. Look at that time for Roethlisberger, airing it out. The pass underthrown and picked off at the 1-yard line. Intended for Sanders, and that's Adam Jones who's able to get a bead on it and bring it in for the pick.
Just could not do it any better than Pac-Man just did it. Nice play.
Waving the towels tonight after the Adam Jones interception on a pass I think that the wind wreaked a little havoc with and held up. Underthrown from the 2-yard line now. The Bengals start this drive with a Green Ellis 2-yard run, and back we go to the pick.
Well, Pac-Man Jones in great position, but this ball truly gets away from Ben Roethlisberger. Key is he gets his head around, comes up with his 3rd interception of the year, but you could see the flight of this football. The wind's going to get it, and it slipped out a little bit, and anytime you're playing in this kind of wind, if it's not a tight spiral, you're going to get one of those.
208 passes thrown by Roethlisberger between interceptions. He hadn't thrown one in 4.5 games. A.J. Green will pick up the first down out to the 15-yard line. And we're going to get blamed for it, of course, because Ben likes to warm up underneath the stands about an hour and a half before the game. We always give him like a note or two from Kenny Hurt and the Elias Sports Bureau. So I started to tell him about his interception streak. He said, stop. I said, yeah, you're right. It's the kibosh.
Yeah, and easy on the we going to get the blame. He's going to get the blame.
We're a team, man. There's no I in team.
I'll remind you that.
From the 15-yard line, that's caught at 20 by Mohamed Sanu.
And this is really what Andy Dalton and the Bengals like to do, and they just really have never gotten into their offense tonight. These quick release throws, it has been the signature part of this offense. Andy Dalton has not been taking the sacks. Had one bad game against Miami down there, threw a couple of really bad balls in that one, but for the most part, pretty consistent play this year.
Second and 5 from the 20. Play clock at 2. Gould under pressure. Hit as he throws and just throws it away. Able to get out of the pocket. Hayward put the pressure on, 3rd down and 5.
Well, here's one of the problems you've got on the outside. Jarvis Jones, the young rookie, led the nation in sacks. And if there is an issue right now with Anthony Collins and a question about him is, can he stand up to a real strong bull rushing kind of player? And that time Jarvis Jones just drove him right back into Andy Dalton. Very quick feet for Anthony Collins, but questions about can he just sustain the power.
3rd and 5. They run a stunt up front. It's tipped and it's incomplete. 4th down, intended for A.J. Green, and for Dalton, it's a 10 for 23 night thus far for 95 yards total.
And really, he has not gotten a lot of help out here either. I mean, these are definitely catchable balls that are going through their hands, and now it gets interesting.
So Mike Nugent forced into punting duties with the injury to Huber.
Antonio Brown's too deep.
Yep. Line drive, bouncing kick, and again takes a pretty good roll for him. And rolls to a stop at the 36-yard line after a 43-yard kick, which is just about the league average. 10.5 to go, 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh up by 20. This took place in the Ohio River yesterday. 34 the air temp, 37 the water temp. This is mind over matter, right? What is this?
I hate to say this, I did that once.
Nah.
I lost a bet when I was doing the radio. Somebody bet me that the Reds would sweep the World Series against the Oakland A's. 4 games later, I had to jump in the Ohio River in November.
It's dangerous enough just jumping in the Ohio River when it's 75. This is Le'Veon Bell picking up 2. Well, Le'Veon Bell, we go back to Thanksgiving night. We all remember the Mike Tomlin episode, and this will stick in our minds for a while too, is they're going in for what they had hoped would be a tying touchdown with a 2-point conversion. The helmet comes off. He doesn't remember anything, and of course that play was whistled dead the moment the helmet came off and was spotted at the 2-inch line, and there he was all woozy and doesn't remember anything after that.
But he thinks the concussion came from when his head hit the ground, not from the initial hit on the contact when his head sort of snapped down and hit the turf.
Meanwhile, that's Kelvin Beachum, the left tackle of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let's go to Michelle.
Yeah, more on Le'Veon Bell. I was there as he was walked off the field looking very woozy on Thanksgiving. He said, all I remember is the next day my alarm going off, and I had a message to call the training room. So I called, and that's when he got the news about what had happened. And he said, it comes back to me a little bit when I watch the film. But you're right, Chris. He doesn't think the hit is what knocked him out. It was his head hitting the ground.
There's something about that action, even if you have the helmet on, that sort of whip effect that happens so many times when you hit the ground and your head snaps down. But this is a big injury if it is one for Kelvin Beachum. He has played very well, sat out last week. Now Mike Adams comes in. So I'm sure the Bengals are going to take their shot to see if Michael Johnson can get some pressure against him.
Adams, number 2 pick last year out of Ohio State. And Roethlisberger, deep drop, good protection, and hits Antonio Brown on the far sideline. The Bengals trying to contend he was out of bounds. At least one of the coaches along the sideline, but got both feet down.
Well, let's give some credit to Mike Adams over there. A little stunt over on his side. He picked it up perfectly and allowed Ben time to throw the football down the side. There it is, a little inside, and then Domata Peko coming around, and Roethlisberger with time has been too much tonight.
That was a 20-yard gain, and now Bell on the ground to the 40. Roethlisberger going no huddle as he did for the vast majority of the first half.
Really have not attacked Dre Kirkpatrick yet. I just can't imagine too many more plays without taking a shot, as now the Bengals forced to come up and challenge a bit.
Kirkpatrick bottom of the screen on Sanders. Upcoming a second down and 9. Roethlisberger throwing. It's caught by Miller. And he gets taken down by George Iloka. And that's another first down. Gain of 8, make it 13 yards.
Well, that was an either or. It was man coverage on the outside. Iloka here trying to cover Heath Miller. And in fairness, if Heath Miller had been running routes like that in those first 4 games, they wouldn't have lost the first 4 games. I mean, that's just a fact.
Blue 30. Hey, alert, alert.
Steelers were 0 for September, and Roethlisberger said we were probably the worst team in the league after September. Le'Veon Bell puts his head down and takes the ball to the 21-yard line. So Bell getting the full workload tonight. Flag is thrown. Bell carrying 15 times.
How about Le'Veon Bell? What a cut that was, and then the way he finished that run. Love that.
After the play was over, taunting by the defense, number 20. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Reggie Nelson. How do you taunt when you're down by 20 points?
That's the Bengals. Le'Veon Bell there, a perfect little jump cut. Michael Johnson, just no match for that stiff arm. Now watch him finish this run. This is a 230-pound back who just runs over Jason DeMonch. That's fantastic. I'm telling you, this team is a different team than what they were. And then Reggie Nelson, are we going to beat up Ramon Foster? Come on.
1st and 10. They can't get a first down without a touchdown. They empty the backfield. Roethlisberger, good protection again, and the pass is incomplete. Dropped by Jericho Cotchery at the 5-yard line. 2nd down.
And we just have not seen Ben hit very often in this game. And I think back to Roethlisberger a few years prior to when Todd Haley came in here, and he wasn't finishing seasons. Even when he did finish the year, I can remember him in the playoffs, and he was so beat up in his legs, and he couldn't move, and he couldn't do all the stuff. And so there was a mandate, and it was Ben's going to change. You know, he is going to be forced to make some changes. He wasn't happy. He wasn't comfortable. He lost his friend Bruce Arians, but he's buying in now.
Bell to the outside. It's around the corner for a short gain. 3rd down and 6.
Well, defenders around the National Football League, be ready. We're going to have a new stiff arm guy here as a running back. It was sort of interesting in talking to Le'Veon about his play. He said as he went through college, he noticed that he was getting slower, and he had gotten up to about 245 pounds. So he lost weight. He's down around 230 now, and he still has some of the power, but you're seeing the quickness come back that really wasn't there his final year at Michigan State.
3rd and 6. Give it to him again. And Bell gets to the 3-yard line. Perfect makes the tackle. 4th and 2. Beecham came back into the game. What crowd doesn't want every team to go for it in every situation? So smattering of boos as Sweezum comes out to try to make it a 30-7 game. 2 misses all year, coming back to back in a game at Oakland in midseason. 21-yard attempt. And before the play,
false start offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
This guy Wimper turning it into a 26-yard attempt now.
Yeah, I don't know if Marvin Lewis would admit this, but I think, of course, they lose their best cornerback, Leon Hall, earlier this year. And Terrence Newman out this game, who was the best corner now remaining, just not willing to play all the man coverage until just the last few snaps because they are so thin now back in the secondary, and it's really kind of impacted the way they played this one.
Squeeze him with the 26-yarder. He's 3 for 3 tonight, and with 6:18 to play in the 3rd, it's 30-7 Steelers. Forced out of bounds up at the 37-yard line. Well, you know, Chris, the Steelers have a lot of decisions to make. The defense, a lot of these guys have been around a long time. They've, of course, started a little bit of a purge with Casey Hampton gone and Harrison gone and Aaron Smith over the last couple of years. And they figured to do some retooling as well. Kiesel is 35, inactive tonight. Taylor 33, Clark 34, Polamalu 32. So what does the offseason bring as Gresham takes it up to the 38-yard line? What do you think is going to happen here?
I think it's tough decisions in a lot of positions. Emmanuel Sanders, Jericho Cotchery at the wide receiver position. What do they do there? You talked about the secondary getting older, and Troy Polamalu is making a lot of money next year. Will he be willing to restructure or redo that deal? You've got Brett Kiesel. You've got decisions at the outside linebacker position. Lamar Woodley and Jason Worlds. Is Jason Worlds playing great now? And Jarvis Jones, the young rookie, will they keep all three? Tough decisions.
And that pass is caught by Green for a first down. I mean, there's even some chatter. Well, there's chatter everywhere these days. But Dick LeBeau is 76 years old, and some people wondering, well, maybe it's time, and Mike Tomlin will hear nothing of it.
Yeah, well, they were saying the same thing when he was ranked #1 in defense for 3 or 4 years in a row. And I think it's a little bit natural due to his age, but when you look at the way they play defense, watch them tonight, you're not thinking, boy, it's passed him by any means.
That's caught, gain of 7, Marvin Jones, and let's check in with Michelle again.
Well, I asked Lawrence Timmons about that blame that Dick LeBeau is taking for the defense this season, and he said that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's the wizard of making calls and just a joy to be around. Words can't really express the way Coach LeBeau is. Just the energy he provides and just being around him is amazing. Pretty much the standard comments you get about Coach LeBeau.
Yeah, Michelle, we've been hearing that from almost everybody on their defense since Dick came here. 2nd down and 2. And that's a first down as Green collects it, forced out by Allen. Part of the reason, of course, is you look at the Steeler defense. They're right in the middle in points per game allowed, yards per game, but the rushing defense has not been good at all. Opponent passer rating, middle of the pack, but all the Steelers' averages, the worst under Dick LeBeau.
Well, and you have to remember they lost the quarterback of this defense on opening day. The same day they lost Marquise Pouncey, so the two signal callers on either side contributed mightily to the fact they got off the 0-4 start. They've really been pretty good since.
Talking about Larry Foote as Marvin Jones, who scored 4 touchdowns in one game against the Jets earlier this season, takes the ball to the 28-yard line and close to a first down.
Marvin Lewis Jones actually is his name, and he has provided some real excitement. He talked about the 4-touchdown game, but he has become a bit of the deep threat that's taken some pressure off of A.J. Green on the other side. They has really added the balance to this offense, and I know it hasn't looked like much so far tonight, but generally this is a pretty tough offense to try and defend.
Yeah, great balance between running and passing and a lot of pass distribution, but tonight Green's got 7. Nobody else more than 2, and this is Bernard picking up the first down to the 24-yard line.
Well, I still think the Bengals are in a pretty good spot, although you have to say losing this game tonight, or at least apparently losing this game, a lot of things come into play now. They are not guaranteed, certainly, of a division title, because the Ravens hold the tiebreaker and play in the last game of the season. And even the wild card now is not assured. So big game next week against Minnesota to get back on track.
Big game for Baltimore tomorrow night at Detroit. As Gresham makes the catch and toe dances his way down the sideline. Gain of 8, 2nd down and 2.
You know, though, there are just some quarterbacks in the league that when the weather turns for the worst, they get better, you know, and Ben Roethlisberger is one of those guys at the top of the list. He is just so big and so strong and can handle the football in any sort of conditions with those big hands. And you know, this is a team built to win championships when the weather turns cold. And I think Andy Dalton and the Bengals have to prove that they can do likewise.
Well, Ben from Ohio, went to Miami of Ohio, been here 10 years, a lot of bad weather games, and that pass is tipped. Talking to Andy Dalton last night, and Dalton couldn't remember a really cold game that he's played in. He's playing in one tonight.
I tell you, this Al Woods has played a nice game here tonight. getting a push here against Andrew Whitworth and gets just far enough back in there, arms fully extended, gets him up and knocks that pass down. Andy Dalton gets a lot of passes deflected, about as many as anybody in the NFL.
3rd and 2. And that'll move the chains, and Green gets taken down at the 5-yard line, setting up a 1st and goal for the Bengals.
You know, Cortez Allen out there, and they have not flip-flopped with Ike Taylor tonight to stay on A.J. Green. Good time that time by A.J. Green coming back for the ball, and I thought Dick LeBeau described A.J. Green about as well as anybody. Said he is a big man, he's fast, but he does it with grace. You know, which is really about describes his game. Great ability to go up to the highest point, catch the football, tremendous talent.
A 1st and goal slipping and going down as he reached the line of scrimmage. Giovanni Bernard. It'll be 2nd down and goal as we tick down to a minute remaining in the 3rd quarter.
I'll tell you the other guys that really have not been a huge factor. One right there, Jermaine Gresham getting worked on the sideline, and Tyler Eifert, the #1 draft pick. They have been a big part of this offense in tandem, but they really have not had much effect here tonight.
Gresham's caught 3 passes tonight for 23 yards, and Eifert has been blanked. Green sets up in the slot to the left. We give the ball to Bernard. He's taken the ball to the 1-yard line with less than a half minute to go in the 3rd.
You know, they're letting Giovanni Bernard kind of be the goal line guy, and I don't know of anything that happened to Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. This is typically kind of his role, but I haven't seen much of him.
And Green Ellis only 4 carries tonight for 4 yards. Bernard's carried 9 times. There is Green Ellis on the sideline. Will they get the play off before the end of the quarter? They will not. Clock goes to double zeros. We've played 3 in Pittsburgh. The Steelers lead the Bengals 30-7. Sunday Night Football back after this. Third down and goal as we start the 4th quarter from the 1-yard line. They give it to Bernard, and he will angle his way. And since they're signaling touchdown, but the guys in the stripes have not.
It looked like he got over the line, but maybe not. Let's see.
Not a scoring play, so if Lewis wants it looked at, he's got to challenge.
I don't know how those line judges make that call anyway. I think they get a little help from the umpire every once in a while.
Coin flip?
Yeah.
Pecco is the fullback. Bernard is the running back. 4th and goal. Dalton's going to throw, and that's going to be caught by Eifert for a touchdown. So we talked about Eifert, rookie #1 pick out of Notre Dame, makes his first catch of the night on a 4th and goal.
Tyler Eifert, big 6'5" target. This is what they did with him at Notre Dame. They just would flank him out and let him have his way with safeties that would come out and try and cover him. It's one of the reasons the Bengals really coveted him, was his ability to move around. You know, you think of the Patriots and those 2 tight ends and the way they play those deals. And really the Bengals have been doing a lot of that this season, and it's been working.
6'6". Eifert got position on Ryan Clark. Nugent now. Dalton's going to hold with Huber out of the game, and all of a sudden it's a 2-possession lead.
That's it.
30-14. And that goes through the hands of Felix Jones, and he'll down it in the end zone. The Steelers will take it to the 20. Less than a minute into the 4th quarter at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, PA. Pittsburgh starts from the 20-yard line, swinging out to Brown, who catches his 5th pass of the night. So he's caught 5 or more in every game this season. Only one guy has caught 5 or more in an entire season, a 16-game season, even though, you know what? They've just called that a run since the pass was behind the line of scrimmage. But there's Jimmy Smith with the Jaguars back in 01. So Brown's going to need one more because that has been ruled as a run.
Will we run the graphic again?
Oh, yes, we will. 2nd and 9. This is Bell. It's another one of those things we told Roethlisberger before the game about that. He said, that's good. Not that he's thinking about that right now, but if he thinks he caught 5 and that's it, somebody should tell Ben. And we go back to line of scrimmage is the 20, so it's a run because it's taken behind the line of scrimmage.
I always worry about those. You drop one of those passes and it's a free ball and it's a new ball game at that point.
3rd down and 6 from the 24-yard line. This time it is caught at the 35-yard line, so that makes it official. Also, Pierre Garçon has caught 5 or more in every game this season, 7 today for Washington, so he's on that trail.
Montez Burfict there tried to sort of bluff that he was blitzing and then get back in the middle, but Antonio Brown beat him to the spot.
Blue 30. Red cat. What do you mean? Hey, 58. Man. Hurry. Set.
And taking some time off the clock now with a 16-point lead, Le'Veon Bell. Let's just update the situation with the playoff seeding. Denver loses the other night, so that was good for New England, but they couldn't take advantage by losing today. And then Cincinnati, it was good for Cincinnati to have New England lose, but right now they don't appear to be ready to take advantage of that either. So when this night ends, we could be back whence we started on Thursday with Denver 1, New England 2, and Cincinnati 3. And Roethlisberger dumps it off on the 2nd and 9, and Bell gets taken down in the open field by Burfict. Make a 3rd down and 6.
It's always kind of fun to watch Ben Roethlisberger jump up and then come back out of that thing. And look at these injuries for the Cincinnati Bengals. Those are key players: James Harrison, Jermaine Gresham, tight end, and then their punter, Kevin Huber.
Got a false start.
False start. Offense number 72. Snap infraction. 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Our man Cody Wallace.
Dr. Wallace.
Paging Dr. Wallace.
I'll tell you though, Ben was he was impressed with the fact that Cody Wallace able to come in there, no problems with the snaps. There you go, a little double fake there, and tried to. I love how the centers try and play it off when they do that. Like they just look around like nothing happened.
And Roethlisberger takes a timeout here. 10:46 remaining in the 4th quarter, with Pittsburgh on top, 30-14. Well, as we said before, Chris, at least the Bengals, they get to go home, play Minnesota next week. Well, I tell you, you talk about a team you don't know what you're going to get from. The Minnesota Vikings. And how in the world did they do that today? You don't have Peterson, you don't have Gerhardt.
You know, Matt Castle comes in there, and I can remember being around that locker room a little bit, and a lot of people had the opinion that he was the best of those quarterbacks when they were there, and now he's sort of proving his worth. Big 3rd down here for the Bengals. They can get off the field here, force a punt. They have a chance to get back in this thing.
So 3rd and 11 at the 34-yard line.
Now you're going to get some of the man pressure.
And Van is going to go down. So a great time for a sack for that Bengal defense because they're going to force the punt. In a 2-possession game, get the ball back. Wallace Gilberry got to him.
Yeah, they bring pressure and then loop a linebacker around. So really just sort of overwhelm here, bring one more than they could pick up. And this Wallace Gilberry, nobody even knows who he is. But he now, I believe, takes over the sack lead for the Cincinnati Bengals with 7.5, something like that.
Correct. And Matt McBriar picked up in mid-season. Let Zoltan Mesko go, and that punt will bound out of bounds at the 25-yard line. 30-14, Cincinnati with the ball. From the 25, first down. Pass caught up at the 30-yard line by Eifert, who scored the touchdown on the last drive, and he's up to the 44-yard line. And all of a sudden,
we've seen it all day today, haven't we? Asked the Dallas Cowboys about comebacks and the Arizona Cardinals, and 10 minutes to go, and still plenty of time here. Boy, Tyler Eifert's got some quick feet for a tight end.
6'6", 250 from the 44-yard line. Pass behind Green, but he's able to reach back, make the grab, and pick up a first down. Gain of 11.
Well, we've seen A.J. Green juggle in the past. He is a legitimate juggler, and a little bit of those skills right there on display.
You say a circus catch, you really mean it with this guy.
He does.
From the Pittsburgh 45. That pass is caught at the 35-yard line, and this is Marvin Jones. And they will spot the ball across the 35, and that's a first down.
Boy, the energy level has just completely shifted now to the Cincinnati Bengals side of the ball. This no huddle has kind of perked them up and planted this Pittsburgh defense in sort of a set look. And now we're starting to see what Andy Dalton can do.
From the 34-yard line. Keep it on the ground this time. Bernard swings to the outside. Dalton looks to make a block. Tripped up by Polamalu at the 32-yard line.
Yeah, no wide receiver is going to block Troy Polamalu, trust me. Marvin Jones getting a little lesson in that, and then chasing him down from behind. I don't know what they're paying him next year, around $10 million, but I think I'd just say, here you go, Troy.
Second down and 8. And that's caught by Jones. Jones goes down a little short of the first down. 3rd and inches upcoming inside the 25-yard line. Under 8 minutes to play.
See the pass rush starting to slow down. This no huddle wears out pass rushers and playing to Cincinnati's favor.
And Bernard's going to find a crease and move the chains and move some of the Steelers with him as he takes it to the 18-yard line.
Well, I didn't know Giovanni Bernard was able to push piles the way that he has here tonight. We saw it down on the goal line as well. This is a little guy, gets through there, but you know he runs right through Ibram Fangupo. You didn't even see him.
To the outside, and that is incomplete. Marvin Jones
pass intended.
Couldn't hang on to it. Pass right there. 2nd down and 10.
You know, this is a team that I really do think they have the tools, but for them to make a run, in all likelihood, they're going to have to get that number 2 seed. They're going to have some home games because they are dynamic at home, scoring so many points, undefeated this year. They just have not been able to translate it on the road in the same way.
2nd and 10 from the 18. And Bernard can't not get out of the backfield. Lawrence Timmons is there. 3rd down and long.
Boy, Lawrence Timmons came out of center field on that one. All the way back here across the, he must have been lined up 7 yards deep and came running down, kind of looked like Troy Polamalu on that one. He gets hit and just spins out of it and really makes the tackle lying on his back. Those two guys have a lot in common with the way they play the football.
3rd and 11. I would think this is a 4-down situation here. 16-point game. You go for it on 4th down. We'll see. 3rd and 11. And that pass is caught out in the flat. And this is Sanu. And he'll take the ball to the 13-yard line. A field goal doesn't help you that much at this particular point. You'd still need 2 more scores. 6.5. Dalton looks over to the bench, and Marvin says, keep the offense out there.
Yeah, I guess the only thing it would do if you could manage to score twice is take away where you'd have to convert both 2-point conversions, but this is the right decision.
Absolutely. 4th and 5. The ball is at the 13-yard line. 6 minutes left in the 4th. Just do get the snap off on time. And wide open is Marvin Jones for a touchdown. On 4th and 5, Jones is left alone in the left corner of the end zone.
They end up playing this, not get too technical, but a cover 2 defense in which they're going to play guys here, and then Ike Taylor is going to see this out-breaking cut, but really that is his assignment. I don't think that he had Marvin Jones in the back. The safety is supposed to be able to cover that wide and never got there. Just a good look by Andy Dalton. Here we go.
Have to go for 2. That's Jones's 9th touchdown reception of the season. 2-point conversion, batted and incomplete. Jarvis Jones got it. So we talked before about all the passes deflected and batted down, and a big one there for Pittsburgh. It's 30-20 with 5:46 remaining.
They're set up for the onside kick. We'll see if they get one. Nope.
That one will bound into the end zone and be down by Jones there. 5:46 remaining as Tomlin's team takes over at its own 20, up by 10. Temperature down to 21 degrees on this frosty night in Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger 183 yards through the air, 1 TD, 1 pick. Brown had that 64-yard punt return, and Huber got hurt on the play as well, so he was done for the night with a fractured jaw. Bernard 1-yard TD run to get Cincinnati on the board, turned it into a 2-possession game, and now it's 30-20 with 5:46 remaining in regulation. Pittsburgh starts from the 20-yard line and through the middle for a gain of 6 yards. Goes Le'Veon Bell. And timeout taken here by Cincinnati. So they have all 3, used 1 here with the 2nd and 4 upcoming.
Please reset the clock to 5:42.
Very odd place to take it after a 6-yard gain.
Yeah, because you're thinking
right,
they're going to get this first down.
Right, you don't do that. You know, I can see it on 3rd and 2, 3rd and something. Not a good call.
Well, I think it's every head coach whenever you live in that town, but they all question. I almost saw Marvin kind of going like,
do I want to?
You know what I mean? Almost like.
Why? I mean, then you got 5:42. You got all your timeouts, the 2-minute warning. What do you need one here for? But what do we know?
What do we know? We know everything. Do they have any sacks of Ben at all?
1. Each team has
right.
1. Right.
Well, let's go.
Most points, right. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Drake Kirkpatrick's been pretty good so far. They're going to have to challenge him now, though. Find out.
Second and 4, a record today, most points scored on any day in NFL history, and that is Le'Veon Bell, who gets taken down by Reggie Nelson behind the line of scrimmage. And Cincinnati will use its second timeout here with a 3rd and 9. So last week we had the most touchdowns scored in a single day, most points today. To me, it's overwhelming, Chris. What can I tell you? In other news, in the American Football Conference, the playoff picture right now, you've got Denver, New England, Cincinnati, and Indy leading the divisions, and Indianapolis has already clinched its division. Denver's clinched a playoff berth. Kansas City wins today in Oakland, so they clinch a playoff berth, and there's one spot remaining. Miami is in that spot right now. Baltimore, San Diego, the Jets, and believe it or not, Pittsburgh still has a 1 in 1,000 shot. They are still mathematically alive.
Speaking of that, the Bengals need a 1 in 1,000 shot right here.
They have to stop after taking those 2 timeouts. It's 3rd down and 7, and Roethlisberger throws, and breaking tackles is Sanders. You had 3 guys there. They had him stopped short of the 1st down. Instead, he moves the change, and Cincinnati has used 2 of its timeouts on this drive.
Just unbelievable. He is surrounded by 3 guys, and somehow all they got to do is make a tackle here. That's Chris Crocker takes a shot at him, and he spins right. Look at this. They have him completely surrounded. Have no idea what Reggie Nelson was kind of stumbling around. Awesome play by Emmanuel Sanders. That's fantastic.
Yep, and you see Mike Tomlin's reaction.
Blue 20.
Also notice, thank you very much from the 31. Here goes Bell. Nowhere. And Bell tonight has carried the ball 22 times, but for only 51 yards. And now Cincinnati is going to take its final timeout. And we could take a look at the NFC playoff picture, where things stand in the National Football Conference, where it's Seattle on top, clinching a playoff spot. 12-2 is their mark. New Orleans upset today, but still leading in the South. Philly leading in the East with a mark of 8-6. Chicago wins today. The wild cards at the moment would be Carolina, 10-4, San Francisco 10-4, but Arizona with 9 wins still alive, and then Detroit, Green Bay, and Dallas also in the hunt.
Well, Philadelphia has to keep on winning now. Dallas looks like they wanted to try and grab the ring today and just couldn't hold on.
2nd and 10 from the 31. And this is Bell taking it to the 37-yard line.
You think back to so many of those great Pittsburgh Steelers teams and their ability and sort of the 4-minute offense at the end that just drained the clock running the football with Jerome Bettis and company. And now it comes down really to one play for the Bengals. They have to get off the field here.
They have to. They're out of timeouts. We'll only stop with a 2-minute warning.
Mike Zimmer has to be pulling his hair out over that last one. They throw a pass short of the 1st down marker, and 3 guys surround him and can't get Emmanuel Sanders on the ground.
After they've used 2 timeouts and set that up, and this time at least they are able to stop it, forcing a 4th down situation and a punt.
Well, we've seen a little bit of everything from Le'Veon Bell, the young rookie who was in the same draft class with Giovanni Bernard. Said they were competitive at the combine. Both of them wanted to be the #1 pick. But so far in this one, Le'Veon Bell, I think his athleticism is shown, but that combination of being that athletic
It's 4th down.
and that quick has made the difference.
Well, they threw a flag, picked it up, and now you got Drake
goodness.
Kirkpatrick, who is taking the spot of Terrence Newman, who's out tonight, maybe a week or 2 more. And here's what happened.
Just takes a weird step there, and he'd had the knee issue in the past, and I don't know if that's related or not, but they are just about out of cornerbacks now. They just put Chris Lewis Harris on the roster because they didn't have anybody else to go to. That has ramifications way beyond tonight. Old college punt formation.
Well, you got McBriar in there. Let the clock go all the way down. Still could have used an extra 5 seconds if they wanted to. And the punt goes out of bounds at the 21-yard line. So 3:17 remaining. It's a 10-point game. Cincinnati with no timeouts. And Andy Dalton, who's now thrown for more yards tonight than Roethlisberger, 217 to 191, will go to work.
Well, but now you don't necessarily have to get these points in order. You have to have 2 scores. You can drive down, get in field goal range, kick one, and then try your onside and try a couple of Hail Marys. So a lot of possibilities on the table for Andy Dalton.
Of course, if you're going to go for a field goal and an extra point, which they're going to need, you're going to have Dalton holding and not Huber. And he starts with a pass for a first down up to the 38-yard line. Tyler Eifert making the catch. Down to 3 minutes remaining.
Now, Tyler Eifert now is playing a big role here late in this game. It's one-on-one with him and Will Allen, the safety, and he's getting the better of that matchup right now.
From the 38. That pass is incomplete. Jones, the intended receiver, covered by Cortez Allen. Second down.
Well, now you understand that Dick LeBeau is not going to sit back and be passive. Now you get all these crazy stunts out of the nickel. You're going to see loops and picks and various things to get these linebackers cut loose. And really, these linebackers have not been the sacking factor that they've been in years past for LeBeau.
He throws that into a passel of traffic. Jason Worlds put the heat on Dalton. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Jason Worlds going to dip underneath Andre Smith here and get pressure on Andy Dalton on that one. They were just trying to get a screen pass off and could barely do that. But Jason Worlds really has become the go-to guy on this defense. Forever it had been LaMarr Woodley, but late in the year, Jason Worlds has taken over and really taken his spot on that defensive left side.
On the 3rd and 10. The pass is knocked down to the 50-yard line by Cortez Allen. So this is pretty much the last gasp right here on a 4th and 10.
Well, A.J. Green has a bunch of catches, but he has not changed the game at all. Cortez Allen with a little tug there as a veteran will, but they have not let A.J. Green get loose tonight.
Green, 9 catches, 98 yards, a long of 19. 4th and 10. And Dalton going deep and incomplete, intended for Green. Looks for a flag. There is none. And the Steelers take over.
Well, you got Troy Polamalu playing back almost like a center fielder in baseball here. Going to break on the ball. And really, A.J. Green really didn't pick up that ball until late. He kept trying to run through there. Now he sees it, and that's a play he has made a bunch of times this season, going up and making that catch. And Dick LeBeau said, there you go. Now we're looking like Steelers defenders again. You just wonder what would have been with this team if they don't lose Foote and Pouncey on opening day. They had Heath Miller healthy for the most part, and they don't give up 11 plays over 50 yards. That was really the killer for them this year.
Fifths and butts for candy and nuts.
Yeah. That time of year, isn't
it? Yep. Here's Dwyer. Gain of 8. That's going to take us to a 2-minute warning. Cincinnati out of timeouts. So the Steelers will still be mathematically alive. Cincinnati will go to 9-5, and now you got another injury here. Jason DeMonch, I think that's the linebacker.
Yep.
Glance at the number. Yep. Rookie out of Southern Illinois.
Well, I tell you, these injuries starting to mount up, and especially at the cornerback position. I have no idea what happened with Dre Kirkpatrick, but with Terrence Newman out with that MCL sprain, and of course their best corner Leon Hall gone as well. There's Dre Kirkpatrick back in there. He's had a pretty nice game. I will say that. I thought the quickness of these Steelers receivers may get the better of him, but he's really hung in there. First-round draft pick, and he has not been a happy guy not playing, but he's come in, gotten his chance tonight, and done well.
Well, DeMonch goes to the sideline.
The other guy that really did not have the huge impact in the passing game that I thought might is Giovanni Bernard. You know, he's had plenty of one-on-one opportunities. Little tip of the cap really to Lawrence Timmons and some of these linebackers. Done a pretty good job on him in the passing game.
Well, they start to wind the clock again once DeMonch leaves the field. Yeah, Bernard caught 2 tonight for 13. We go to the 2-minute warning at Heinz Field with the Pittsburgh Steelers on top, trying to go to 6-8, 30-20, Pittsburgh. Second down and 2 from the 30-yard line. And Roethlisberger gives the ball to Dwyer. And that'll take us down to about a minute and 15 or so before Pittsburgh has to snap the ball again.
Big Ben's kind of right in the prime of his career, isn't he? You can see more and more he is taking over this offense, more and more comfortable calling those plays and audibles at the line of scrimmage. They look to him now as the unquestioned leader. And Todd Haley is, I think, gotten his point across, because you're seeing that ball come out a lot quicker. He's not taking the hits he used to take in the past.
3rd and 2, a first down will officially end it. Instead, it's a 4th down, so barely breathing are the Bengals, but it's a 4th down here, and they're going to have to do something with this over the next half minute.
Well, I would think Steelers probably just go for this, right?
I would think. Running around. I mean, you're going to give Cincinnati the ball back with half a minute and say go score twice?
Good luck. Although it is the NFL. Your Arizona Cardinals about allowed that to happen today. I always like to watch you cheering for teams.
Don't give away any secrets now, would you? On 4th and 1, here's Dwyer. And they may have stuffed him at the 28-yard line. If they do, they'll get the ball back. But meanwhile, the clock keeps running. So in effect, you're basically saying you picked up the first down. And Hockley looks over. And he signals first down. Otherwise, they would have had to put several seconds back on the clock. But it's all moot now as the Bengals head back to finish up the season at Paul Brown Stadium. Pittsburgh scores early and often, wins the game 30-20.